that's something where they need to let mom or dad know and then tell us, or they can go right to the school resource officer and let us know and prevent something terrible from happening. The middle schools have a cell phone policy. When they come in at the beginning of the day, they're not supposed to have it. They're just supposed to be in their lockers. And then, outside of school's hours, they're allowed to use it. And there are progressive punishments for if they get caught. But, I have a cell phone on me right now. You wouldn't know that I'm carrying a cell phone. Same thing is true for students carrying a backpack. They also have, the new thing is the high frequency ringtone. That, if you're under the age of 35, you'll probably be able to hear it. Over the age of 35, you probably won't pick up on it. So they don't have to turn it on silent anymore. They can just have a ringtone that we won't be able to hear. Okay? Exactly. Andy or Brian will be talking a little bit about some of the software and firewalls. Those are tools that can help. Okay? They are helping you to be a parent, helping you to set the kids on the right path. They do not replace the parent, and that is a crucial factor to understand. To give you some perspective, they are like water wings. You would not put water wings on a child and take them down to the ocean and say, good luck. Okay? Certainly, if you're going to have your child swim in the ocean, you would get them lessons, you would swim with them, and yeah, you would give them flotation devices, and their first time in the ocean, you'll go with them. Okay? If you're depending on NetNanny or one of the software programs or one of the firewalls to take care of it, you're dropping your kid off at the ocean and saying, hey, good luck. In terms of when the police actually get involved, where there can be an arrest, it's kind of a gray area for law enforcement because it's relatively new in terms of technology. But the definitive line is when there's a threat of violence. Okay? And then it becomes very clear, and those are things that we can act on. In terms of doing an investigation, in order to backtrack and find out who sent what, we have to have a subpoena. We have to follow due process to do that. State's attorneys are not going to issue a subpoena unless it's a felony. Okay? Threat of death, automatically, that's a felony. They will issue a subpoena. And most of the internet service providers and most of the social network groups are very cooperative with law enforcement. We can give them a heads up, hey, we're investigating this. You have to freeze that account, freeze that information, and they will do it, and we get them the subpoena. Because the internet is so dynamic that tracing it back has to go down to thousandths of a second. And that's also, Andy mentioned that, don't delete it, because that important information of when it was sent and where it came from is in the header when we do our investigation. So it's going to be frustrating. Most people don't want to keep that kind of stuff on their computer. They want to get rid of it. Well, in order for us to do our job, we need to take a look at it, and that's how we're able to do our investigations. When it is an area that's not so clear, where it's no real definite threat of violence or something like that, but it's certainly harassing and annoying, well, it's still a crime, but it's a misdemeanor. So the state's attorneys aren't going to issue subpoenas for that. The police department has certain things we can do. We can reach out, and if we think we know who the person is, and send them a message or talk to them and say, cut it out. A lot of times, that'll do it. Okay? Sometimes it won't. So what parents need to understand is, yeah, they'll have to do some blocking and things like that, but it's just as easy to create another account. Okay? So it might come back again. So the self-esteem issues and reassurance from the parents are greatly important. As a parent, when something happens to your kid, you want to do something about it. You want to fix it. Okay? But sometimes it might be just enough to listen and let the kid tell you, hey, this is what's going on. And just you listening to it might be enough. And then you reassuring them that they are in fact a good person, and there are things about them that they need, that they can believe in. And just because a bully said it doesn't make it so. Okay? And help empower your kid to help deal with those things. If we are going to act upon it and the people who are involved are a juvenile, the law works a little bit different than when it's with an adult. There are two paths to go. We can do what's known as a station adjustment, which is basically a formal agreement between the offender, their guardian, and the police department. In order for a station adjustment to happen, there has to be an admission of guilt and some accountability. And then there's some effort at restitution, and things like curfew and restrictions can be applied. So it's almost like a written contract. If there's no admission of guilt or no accountability, station adjustment is not an option. They're going to get petitioned to juvenile court. And if it's bad enough and a kid's kind of on this path anyway, chances are the courts might have been involved with them already. And this might be just another thing that's being added to their caseload. Our school resource officers are great, and they really work their tails off. And they will work with the child who's the target and the child who's a bully. And if at all possible, they'll try and kind of handle it administratively, provided the circumstances warrant that, and they can kind of correct it. You know, if it's a criminal act, it's a criminal act, and they're going to treat it as such. But if, you know, it's a kind of gray area, they're going to make the best effort to try and fix it and not ruin, you know, a kid's academic career if at all possible. Okay? Sometimes, though, you know, it is the way it is, and they have to act on what they have. Unfortunately, a lot of parents are blissfully unaware of their child's behavior online. I think I'll go back. And they're not aware of it until confronted with it. Generally, you know, if somebody says, hey, your kid's bothering my kid, normal parent reaction is, well, your kid maybe have to toughen up a little bit or, you know, grow up or something to that effect. Well, when they post these profiles and they post these videos of themselves doing these things and you show it to their parents, they go, oh my, I had no idea. So there has to be that parental involvement. If your kid has a computer in their own room and you're not monitoring what they're doing, don't be surprised if they're engaged in this kind of behavior. And it works both ways. You know, kids can get bullied and then they pass it on to somebody else too. Okay? So there really has to be that involvement. And if you're not computer savvy, learn how. You know, and there are no shortages of resources to become at least computer literate. A real good a newsletter that I'm signed up for just to try and stay in touch is called Net Family News. It's a weekly newsletter, and it talks about all the issues from around the country and around the world of what's going on the internet with school-age children. And it gives you kind of a balanced view, because most kids won't reach out to the authorities or to the adults because they're afraid the computer will go away. You know, all right, well, you just stay off the computer then. They don't want that to happen. Okay? So if they reach out to you, you have to understand where they're coming from, because it's a very big part of their life every day. So they're afraid that they're going to lose those privileges. And if they get blocked at home or something like that, they can go to their friend's house, they can go to the library, they can go to Starbucks or, you know, a cyber cafe and do the same things there. So you have to have that open line of communication with them.
That is, what role do we in the schools play for helping create, you know, good character as it relates to cyberbullying? And as a district, at least Glenview and I'm sure District 30, are working towards, and we provide programs now where we educate students on all of these issues at different levels, whether you're in the primary grades, intermediate, or middle school. But we're educating them on what could happen to them on the web, why they shouldn't be doing stuff. Working with our officer friendlies and our resource officers on educating them. But there's always, you know, more that we could do in terms of tying it into character counts and tying it in. So I certainly encourage this group to have more discussions about that and about how, as a technology leaders in the district, working with, and we do a lot of work, at least in our district, with the social workers on this combination of the two. And we're actually in the process of developing a new program to try to better educate the kids, because as you've seen listening to this conversation, things change every year. Every summer there's something new that comes out that we have to